You won't believe the simple mistakes that can make or break your experience in Finland. As a Finn who has guided countless foreigners throughout their relocation to Finland, I can tell you that avoiding these mistakes will help you connect with Finns more effortlessly and skip those cringe-worthy dumb foreigner moments. So in this video I will show you the 10 big mistakes foreigners make in Finland that get them into awkward situations, and learn simple strategies to avoid them, making your transition smooth and enjoyable. First, let me show you a miserable big mistake many make even before moving. And this actually happened to one of my relocation clients. An IT specialist from Africa received a job offer from a Finnish company, and he and his family were about to move to Finland, so he actually contacted me for help. And the discussion was going well until I noticed something awful. Here's an extract from what we talked about. I will need a car. All seem to be very expensive here in Finland, even the second-hand ones. In my country it is like 25% less expensive, plus we have 0% interest pretty much everywhere. Here in Finland, prices are out of the roof, and on top of that, there are no interest-free options for known brands. Big mistake is that many don't do proper research early enough on Finland's price level and have unrealistic expectations of the day-to-day costs and look through the lenses of their own country. But how do you conduct research to make informed decisions? Well, here are 3 tips for that. First, you want to check how much your net salary after taxes per month will be, assuming you'll be working. To do this, go to Veronmaksajan Keskusliitto, the Finnish Taxpayers Associations, and find this table which is updated annually. Looking at it, you can get a reasonable estimate of your monthly disposable income. For example, if you earn a gross salary of 4,000 euros per month, that translates into an annual net salary of around 45,000 euros, a little bit shy, or approximately around 2,900 euros. Note that this does not account for tax deductions which you can get every year. Second, you want to check the rents. Rents take a big chunk of your monthly expenses. For that, use vuokraovi.com to research apartments and their price levels. They offer an English version too, and some of the descriptions are actually in Finnish only, but you can use Google Translate to get that done. You can search by size, rent, type of apartment. For example, if you need a 2-bedroom apartment in Tampere, you can do that. They also offer a map search. You can see quite handily where available apartments are located. And then you simply just look at the price levels to get an idea how much the rents will be. And thirdly, learn about how much the other daily costs are. There are a number of websites to get some data on daily costs, such as numbeo.com, expatistan.com, and finlandprices.com. Use these to get an idea for the daily costs. And by the way, if you're moving to Finland and want to do it stress-free, check the link in the description. Speaking of money, you can get into an awkward situation if you're not careful. And here's a story from a friend who moved to Finland to study and learned this the hard way. On his first day at the Tampere University of Technology, that's where I also used to study back in the days, he was ready to immerse himself into Finnish student culture, student life, starting with the classic student lunch, very cheap. So he confidently approached the checkout with his tray loaded with drinks, salad, and of course the main course. But then a little hiccup. He realized he had left his payment card at home. No worries, he had a 10 euro bill for the 2.60 euro lunch, except surprise, the checkout didn't accept any cash. Awkward, right? So he had to shuffle back to the line, balancing his tray to find the cash accepting register and queue. So the lesson in Finland, cash is not the king as like elsewhere in the world. Cash is actually a legal form of payment, but the number of stores accepting only card payments is increasing. My go-to lunch place at work also announced that they wouldn't be taking any cash payments anymore. Well, why is this? Well, handling cash is of course more expensive and time consuming for businesses, and most Finns love to pay with cards and phones anyway. So how to avoid such hiccups? Well, keep your cards handy, use Google Pay or Apple Pay as well, but still carry some cash for those moments when technology fails. And speaking of Finnish quirks, you should know another small but crucial things to avoid those faceball moments with the locals. And again, let's go back to my days to the student life, and I used to be actually an international tutor at the university about a decade ago. Picture this, we were all set for student picnic, and one of my new 2Ds showed up clutching an empty water bottle. She asks, Aleksi, where can I buy water on the campus? And then I went, oh no! Facepalm. Not because of her question, but because I had overlooked a teaching a vital, very Finnish lesson, which is, in Finland, don't buy bottled water. Why? Well, it's kind of a waste of money. Instead, embrace the Finnish way, tap water. It's healthy, tasty, and practically free. Just a twist of tap away. So grab a reusable water bottle, fill it up home, and you're good to go. Any public water tap, even restrooms, dispenses drinkable water. But just steer clear of the toilet bowl. That's well, a bit too adventurous, even for Finnish standards. And speaking of adventurous experiences, what if I told you there is something illegal almost everywhere else, but in Finland it's completely normal and even encouraged. So in many countries such as the USA, stepping on the private land or forest without permission can result in being held at gunpoint. But Finland is different. Everyone can enjoy nature freely, even on private lands, within reason of course. We call this everyman's rights, jokamiehen oikeudet. But how do you obey these rights responsibly and avoid trouble? Well, here's a quick checklist to keep clear. You can walk, ski, cycle or horseback ride in nature, pick wild berries, mushrooms and common flowers, fish with the basic rod and line, other methods actually require permits, swim, boat and travel on ice, camp briefly in forests away from private homes, and you cannot enter private yards, gardens or clearly marked restricted areas like army areas, cut down or damage trees, moss or plants, disturb wildlife or their habitats, light open fires without permission, except in designated spots, drive off-road without permission, and litter or pollute water resources. So pack your backpack, bring your camera and explore freely, just remember to respect the rules. However, this next aspect of Finnish people makes foreigners feel lonely and even leads them to leave the country. It's about Finnish people, and Finnish people are actually like ketchup bottles. So imagine you're trying to open a ketchup out of a stubborn bottle. You shake, you squeeze, and nothing really happens. But just as you're about to give up, the ketchup finally flows very nicely. So making friends with Finnish people is similar. It takes time and patience to break through, but once you do, you can form deep, lasting friendships. So the lesson here is don't expect quick friendships and remain patient. So how do you get the ketchup flowing, so to speak? Well, here are 3 quick steps. First of all, be proactive. In Finnish, we have a saying that no one will come to get you from home. So go to places, go to events, and strike a conversation with people. Engage in communities. Think of 3 to 5 hobbies or interests you're passionate about. You can talk about hours without getting bored. And then you find local groups or events in Finland that align with these interests. It's actually easier to connect with people who share the same passions as you. And as mentioned, be patient. Finns are slow to warm up, so keep going if they don't open up during the first few conversations. However, an essential and probably only in Finland feature of Finnish conversations make foreigners very uncomfortable. Getting this wrong could ruin your chances of getting to know Finns. Think of Finnish conversations like training at the gym. You do sets, take a breather, and then repeat the process with another set. So if you continued without breaks, you would become exhausted, right? So Finnish conversations follow a similar rhythm. They involve short bursts of dialogue followed by natural pauses and silence. See what I did there? And then they start talking again. But for many foreigners, this silence can feel awkward, like being caught in sudden stillness. So if you find yourself in a conversation with silence, don't panic. But how do you handle these pauses without feeling awkward or pushy? Well, the key is to embrace them. When you sense a silence approaching, just kind of relax into it. Resist the urge to fill the void with like forced chatter. Instead, let the silence breathe, and when you feel comfortable, naturally continue the conversation from there. This approach respects the Finnish conversational norms, enabling you to experience Finland's distinctive communication style like a boss. And speaking of making friends with Finns, there's actually one cultural test every foreigner must pass first. Ignore it and you'll stay an outsider. Understand it and Finland opens up in ways you never imagined. Imagine this, it's your first day at a new job in Finland and your boss invites you over for an after-work drink at the company premises to get to know you better. You arrive and notice a sauna, a quintessential Finnish experience. Yes, even companies have their own saunas in Finland. And suddenly you're in the sauna with 3 colleagues you just met and you're all naked. Yes, naked. Dun, dun, dun. So what's going on and why? Because for Finns, the sauna is a sacred ground, a place for relaxation, equality, and even business deals. So don't get scared if you get invited to a sauna. It simply means that Finns want to get to know you better. Sounds good, right? It's a cultural cornerstone where everyone is on equal footing, quite literally. Literally. But how do you prepare yourself for your first Finnish sauna experience? So first of all, sauna is nothing sexual. It's a place of equality, so any inappropriate behavior is a no-go. Weird stares and gestures are off limits. And we don't have mixed gender saunas either, really. So these are rare, and when they happen, swimwear is actually common, and especially in public saunas, so you don't need to worry about getting naked with the opposite sex at all. And embrace the experience. It might feel awkward at first, but trust me, it'll be worth it. And this next part will help you positively surprise Finns and make them more interested in getting to know you. Imagine walking into a room full of Finns and instantly connecting with them. The secret? It's all about speaking their language. Literally. But here's the challenge. Many foreigners struggle with Finnish because they are sounding like news reporters during conversation. Let me show an example. Here is a self-introduction in 2 variants. Hyvää päivää. Minun nimeni on Aleksi ja olen kotoisin Suomesta. Pidän liikunnasta ja videoiden tekemisestä. Terve! Mun nimi on Aleksi ja on kotoisin Suomesta. Tykkään liikunnasta ja videoiden tekemistä. Did you notice any differences? First version was in written Finnish, also known as book Finnish, kirjakieli in Finnish. It's used on formal occasions. And the second was in spoken Finnish, puhekieli, which sounds more natural in conversation. And here's the big problem. The problem is that many classes and books teach the written Finnish first. And why it matters? Well, written Finnish is like a tuxedo, great for formal occasions but not for everyday wear. Spoken Finnish, on the other hand, is your comfy jeans. Casual, approachable, and exactly what Finns prefer in daily life. And when you use even basic spoken Finnish, Finns will be impressed and more welcoming. So how to get there? There are two main tips. First, learn spoken phrases such as moi, moikka, or terve. Avoid phrases like hyvää päivää, that's way too formal. Master the structures. For example, use the first person plural passive form. I know that's a bit for example, instead of using menemme, use mennään, and instead of syömme becomes syödään. And bonus tip, don't assume everyone speaks English. While many do, showing effort in speaking Finnish, no matter how basic, builds bridges. However, the next cultural blunder makes Finns feel awkward and will get you weird looks which you want to avoid. So picture this, I'm in a local train and looking for a seat. As I move further in, I notice 1-2 people are sitting in groups of 4 seats. Despite the free seats in those groups, I keep moving forward. Why is that? We'll learn so. Finally, I noticed a group of 4 free seats and happily took a seat there. And we just witnessed a very Finnish thing here. We Finns like our personal space, even in public transport, and it goes to some exaggerated extents every once in a while. So what is the problem here? If I were to sit next to someone if there were other free seats close, and Finn might think, why are they sitting here? Are they going to talk to me? Is there something wrong with me? No! We get a bit self-conscious about this. Another thing is simply just respect. We just want to respect other people's spaces and not to cause these weird problems. So how can you navigate Finns without this faux pas? Well, choose your seats wisely. Avoid sitting too close unless necessary, like when no other seats are available on the bus. Mind your gestures, so resist the urge to hug, kiss, or be overly close in the first meetings. It can be intimidating, but don't be overly touchy. And did you know there are many mistakes that can ruin your relocation to Finland? Click here to relocate more confidently.